Every one of us carries a story we don't always talk about. The quiet battles, the heavy days, the moments that cracked us open, and the moments that stitched us back together. We've all stumbled. We've all broken. We've all stood at the edge of something we weren't sure we could come back from. And somehow, through strength we didn't know we had, we rose anyway. Because inside every person, there is a spark that refuses to die, a hope that refuses to stay silent, a heart that refuses to give up no matter how dark the night gets. And that's why we're here, to listen, to learn, to witness the courage it takes just to be human. Every soul you hear on the show has walked through something that shaped them, sharpened them, and carried them forward. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a battle. Everyone has a journey. And this is where you come to hear it. All right, brother. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome into Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Today in the show, we have Rob McCarthy, a guy who pulled no punches with his book, Fuck the Script, How to Own Your Own Shit and Rewrite Your Story. Rob dives deep into the idea that much of what we accept as our life script, the path, the labels, the expectations, is optional, and that we each can take ownership of our story and rewrite it. In this conversation, we'll explore his journey, what led him to write this candid and provocative work, the mindset shifts he advocates, the challenges he faced, and the practical tools he offers for anyone ready to challenge the status quo and design a life by their own terms. Rob, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jimmy. Good to be here.
Very nice to meet you. Give a little introduction about yourself, where you're from. You know, I know we just talked off air that you were a little upset you didn't wear your Yankees hat, but I wish you did, because I probably would have threw mine on too, you know?
I'm born and raised in New York. Lived here my entire life. As I said, diehard Yankee fan. Married, father of two. Did the routine, went to school, went to college, got the debt, bought the car, got the debt, bought the house, got the mortgage. And one morning I just kind of woke up and said, what the fuck am I doing? Put on a shirt and a tie every day, had the nameplate on the door, and hated every fucking minute of it.
You were living life on life's terms.
I was living a script and playing a role that I never auditioned for.
Now, where'd you grow up in New York? Where'd you grow up? What borough?
I was in Yonkers. I was just outside Lower Westchester County.
Okay. We always pass through Yonkers when we're driving in, my brother and I, to the city. So my brother's in New York right now. He's a Teamster.
No, I was actually up by you this past weekend up at Springfield.
Oh, nice. What were you doing up there?
Yeah, my kid plays lacrosse, so we were up at UMass.
Nice, little lax. Is he in college?
No, he's a sophomore. Football, basketball, lax, and then my daughter is a Division I lacrosse player out on the island.
That must be something you're very proud of having your daughter in college, getting some education and playing some sports. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that was her dream, and let me tell you, she pushed towards it. And I'm super.
That's awesome. I find a lot with those D1 athletes, they gotta be driven. It's not one of those where you just end up playing college sports just because you're a pretty decent athlete. You've got to be strong.
It's that full-time job. Go to school, and then she's got 4 or 5 hours of stuff every day. Whether it's study hall, lacrosse, a gym, whatever it is. And it's very strong. It's a full-time job.
Yeah, no doubt about it. My nephew's up in Vancouver playing junior hockey. He's off to college next year. Not sure where, but that's the same thing when he's home. It's like he'll be home for Christmas and he'll only be home like 6 days, but he brings his equipment back with him and he'll skate every freaking day. He's a lunatic, but he looks at it as, if I want to keep playing and I want to further my level of that where I'm playing at in my education, then I got to keep at it. So, big shout out to, your two kids that are doing well. And how was UMass? You guys win? You beat Springfield or?
Well, he played 5 games. I think they wound up 3. They played 6 games, 3, 2, and 1.
Nice little jamboree up there.
Yeah.
What position does he play?
He's a pole. He'll either play straight defense or he'll play a long stick midi.
Long stick midi.
He's 15 years old, but it helps that he's about 6'4".
He's a big boy.
He has that stature that fits that position.
Yeah. So I played lacrosse. I was lucky enough in middle school where I went to private school. So I got my taste of lacrosse there first. And in the city in Boston, when I was in 6th grade, which was 96, maybe 96, 97, we didn't even have lacrosse here in Boston.
No, we didn't have it where I grew up either.
Yeah. Nobody knew what it was. And then when I started playing, they were like, hey, you can have a stick and you can beat the shit out of people. And I go, really? That sounds friggin' interesting to me. And so I ended up playing middle school. I ended up playing lacrosse in high school. I was lucky enough. I was part of my Catholic Memorial where I went to high school. First ever win in the program.
First ever win ever, and first ever Catholic Conference win ever in
Nice.
the program. So it was great. Lacrosse was something great for me. But so you were saying, you were putting the tie on, you were putting, you were buying the car, you bought the mortgage, you were going through the script, the script of everyday life. When did that change?
I had a little ticker issue in my early 30s. I'm 45 now, so this book's been like 9 years in the making. And I finally decided that, the stress level and everything it wasn't worth it to me. Then I had a coworker die of a heart attack.
Wow.
In his office, and his job was posted
the next day
before his wake.
Yeah, that's the thing with corporate America, not even corporate America, any job. Everyone's willing and able. You're only a number, you're only a statistic to them. They don't care. I'm lucky enough I work a union job here, but when they fire someone here, they got people in the wings ready and able to take over. It's tough.
I'm a union man now myself. That was the transition I made. I work for a local municipality, water sewer.
Nice.
You wake up, you get dirty, you work hard, but you feel satisfied at the end of the day, like you actually did something.
Yeah.
Rather than pushing a pencil and punching numbers for somebody that just doesn't give a shit about you either way.
How long did you do the office job for?
I was there 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I was there 15 years, worked my way up the ranks. The usual script, kiss the right ass, make the right numbers. And, I climbed, and then I was just miserable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I got comfortable.
Yeah.
And comfort is it doesn't break you like immediately. It's just a slow, torturous death.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I decided I quit.
You probably got comfortable making the money. You're probably making some good money.
I'll make more money now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
It's those union jobs, those union thugs, as they like to say.
Yeah, I'm making more money now than I was when I was corporate.
Yeah.
There's stress, but it's a different kind of stress. It's a physical stress. There's some mental stress to it, obviously, with planning and everything like that. But my first time working with the union, I came home and actually saw the product of what I did.
Yeah.
Rather than just the same bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's across the board. I dive a lot into social media and the impact that it has on people. And the key word, which stems off of the, climbing the corporate ladder and everything, is what everybody's definition of success is.
Yeah.
Is it money in the bank? Is it cars in the driveway? Or is it waking up that you're not in a panic because you're wondering how you're going to pay your Visa bill? You're wondering whether or not your family's doing well. And to me, it was the opportunity to actually say no because I wasn't desperate to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really made that shift, and it really made a lot of difference in my life. And like I said, I've been doing it 9 years now, and I finally, this past January, sat down and started talking to my phone and putting shit in my notes app.
Yeah.
And then
paper.
I finally put pen to paper in like late February, and I hustled in silence. Nobody knew anything.
Yeah.
4:30 4:30 in the morning, I was writing my book, writing it piece by piece. And it was to the point where my best friend actually thought that the day I said the book was releasing on my social media post, it was going to be a picture of the gorilla giving you the middle finger. And it was all a joke from the get-go.
But that's the best where you were able to keep it silent, because I find a lot, like when it comes to success, where it's everybody puts the cart before the horse and they're all patting themselves on the back of, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And 90% of the time it doesn't get done. So here you are, probably in the water and saw truck, typing up little notes going on, getting the book ready with nobody even knowing. That's awesome.
But I think it was a double-edged sword. It was, number one, I wanted it to be my project. I didn't want anybody's input. I didn't want anybody telling me what I should talk about, how I should write it. But on the other side of it, I play a good role of being a very confident person. And I think if I got people second guessing me while I was writing it, I don't know that I ever would have finished it. And then once I got about halfway through, I still didn't tell anybody. But I started to realize that when I was putting my thoughts on paper, even though I wasn't living some of them yet, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks anymore. Yeah. I really don't. I'll tell you straight out. I'm an asshole. I'm going to tell you how it is. I gave you some excerpts of the book. What you read is what I say.
Yeah. No, but that's awesome. Like you said, I think a lot of people try to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the next door neighbor of, hey, they got a Mercedes. We got to get a Mercedes. We got to do this. They're going to a tropical vacation. We got to do a better one, where it's like, fuck it. I don't give a, I'm the same boat. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks,
But think about what you just said, because that's where social media ties into it.
Yeah.
When we were kids, I'm assuming we're around the same age.
Yeah. I'm 41. Yeah.
I'm 45. Keeping up with the Joneses was just our parents worrying about what the people on the street had. You know, did the Smiths down the block get a Mercedes? Oh my God, so and so put up a fence. So and so got a swimming pool, but it was in like maybe a 2-block radius.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
These poor kids and society as a whole nowadays, you got to deal with every asshole with a camera
No doubt
who's
about
posting shit on social media.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's not when the person had it next to your house, it was true. You know, you saw the car, you
Right.
saw the swimming pool. These schmucks are renting cars,
Yeah.
going into houses. They're probably standing in some millionaire's open house. They're not even in their own house. And the kids nowadays and the young teenagers, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old, they think that's what life is for everybody. What they don't realize is out of 10,000 people posting this shit online, maybe 3 of them have that kind of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it really fucks with the psyche of everybody.
Everybody, yeah. And I believe one of the biggest things, like you said, social media, it's always Instagram, Facebook, it's this, it's, you know, some new app, TikTok, where everybody's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go viral. I'm going to get viral. But if you look at those, like you said, there's probably only a couple of them on there that are really, really making some money, you know?
Well, see, I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan.
Yeah.
I listen to him all the time. And when it comes to advertising and everything else, I mean, social media is where it's at.
Yeah.
But you have to be giving people something.
Exactly.
You know, you just posting. I mean, unfortunately, any girl in a bikini walking around gets 50 million views in the first half an hour, where somebody putting substance down doesn't.
Yeah.
But you got these people, you know, oh, I can give you the next stock tip that's going to make you a billionaire, and da.
Yeah.
But it really is. I mean, social media has its positives. The problem is nobody posts real life.
Real life. Yeah.
You, me, anybody. Nobody posts their real life.
Yeah.
I'll give you my example I've used many times. We go on vacation every year. We get a house down on the Jersey Shore and we go with friends. It's a great time.
Yeah.
Every picture of me and my wife is sitting at the dinner table, enjoying a glass of wine, sitting, you know, watching the sunset, blah, blah, blah. I'm not posting a video of her telling me to go fuck myself because I wasn't ready on time, or me yelling at the kids because we've got to go because we've got to get to dinner and they got to get dressed. Nobody posts that. Everybody posts the highlight reel. Kids and people that are so engulfed in that social media aspect think that the highlight reel is all there is. They don't post the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah. No, I've been known to, you know, go a bit off the ledge with social media of, you know, letting people know how I'm really feeling or what's really going on. And people will always call and, you all right? And I go, what? I saw this post. Yeah, I'm okay. It's just fucking life. Sometimes it comes at you hard and quick and fast, and fucking today sucked. Yeah.
It's one of those things where most people would rather post about changing their lives than actually do what it takes to make the steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and this was one of the book was one of those things for me that I said, I'm finally going to do it. You know, I've made every New Year's resolution I've ever made in my life before. You know, I'm going to be 160 pounds next month, and I'm going to be in a gym every day. And, you know, usually this was really the one that I kept to. I really did.
So when you were writing it, did your wife know, or she wasn't even in the know either?
The first person that knew I finished the book was my mother.
Okay.
Because she was a teacher. And she doesn't curse. She's one of those, you know, she's just she's an old school perfect woman. You know what I mean? She's just dinner's on the table. She's always in a good mood. She went to work. Nothing ever went wrong. Everything's positive. She lived her life the way she wants. She lives her life the way she wants to.
On her own script.
She does. She's on her own script. Everything. She's the most positive human being I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm blessed, 110% blessed.
Yeah.
But she was the first person to get the script, get the manuscript. She was a teacher for years. I said to her, here, I want you to read this, and I want you to edit it. I don't want you to tell me what you think. I don't want you to tell me anything else. Then there's a comma needed here. Maybe change this word, wrong, you know, tense of this verb, whatever. And I'm sorry, Ma, for how many curses are in the book, but it was how I was writing it.
Yeah.
And she actually liked it.
That's awesome.
If she didn't, she would have told me. But yeah, she was the first person, and that was probably about a month and a half before I went to print.
That's awesome. You know, one of the biggest things, like the excerpt you sent me, was it's raw, it's unfiltered, but that's how you wanted it to be. You know, that's you, and you don't have anybody breathing down your throat saying, remove this swear, you're cussing too much, or you're swearing too much. No, you wrote it how you wanted to, you know, with no input from anybody, which is great, you know, and that's where, yeah, I think authenticity is the biggest thing, because, you're telling the story of, hey, I was living life on this, on someone else's script. Now I'm living it on my own, fuck the script of life that people think you should be following. I'm going to follow my own.
It's a big fuck you to every limitation put in our lives that we were just taught to accept.
Yeah.
It was, first of all, if I ever wrote a book that was well polished, everybody would have thought I was bullshit. I mean, it's just not who I am. I can't listen if I have to, like in the work environment and the, I had to give a presentation. I sounded more polished than anybody. But when it comes down to who I am as a person, I'm gonna tell you something you don't want to hear. I'm gonna say it in a way that you may not like, but that's me.
Yeah.
And that's how the book had to be.
No, it's awesome. But some people could say, that could be almost the New Yorker of you coming out,
It's half the New Yorker. It's somebody who really got pissed off with the way his life was going. And I actually sat down and you can crack a beer with a bunch of buddies and tell everybody what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How so-and-so needs to lose weight. He needs to do this. They need to do that. But the hardest person to actually take a look at and tell something's wrong is the person you look in the mirror every morning. And I had one of those, I'm not lying. It was on my way home from work. I had gone back to work probably about 2 weeks after I had the little scare. And I really just said, what the fuck am I doing? So I went out, I took a gamble. I went to the doctor. I went out on 6 months of stress leave. And I burned my 6 months of sick time with all intentions of putting in my papers and walking away at the end of the 6 months. And I landed a job, got in with the union, and I've actually started making the other changes that I needed to make. When I was under the stress, I had a hair trigger with my kids, with my wife, with whatever. My temper was just literally seconds away from exploding because I was stressing about work. Then I was stressing about bills.
Yeah.
And I was stressing about everything else. And when it came to like experiences with my family, I wasn't there. I physically was there.
Yeah.
But I mentally wasn't. And I remember the one example I remember was I was coaching my daughter's like third, fourth, fifth grade, whatever it was, softball team. Championship game. They wound up winning the game on a walk-off. I had to step away from third base to take a phone call from my job.
Yeah.
And I missed it. And I was the third base coach. Thank God the girls know what they were doing because I had an emergency at work that I had to respond to. And that was another one that was like, why?
Yeah.
I can't get time back. I can make money however I want. You know what I mean? I'm never going to get time back with my family. I'm never going to get the moments back. I was trading moments for material shit because I wanted the money. But when it comes down to it, the moments you have are so much more important. And I learned that. And that's when Fuck the Script really started to come about in my head because I was living somebody else's expectation of me. And I was living a script that I never put pen to paper on the script that was being given to me.
So what age were you when you had the heart issue?
35.
35. Working in when you're working with the shirt and tie and doing all that, going into the office. Where's that? That Midtown?
No. It was actually local offices. It was I worked for the Postal Service for 15 years. I was a higher level manager there.
Okay.
Started ground floor, worked my way up over the 15 years. And, it was one of those jobs, pretty much every corporate job. They want 15 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag and you can't spill any of it. You know how it is.
Oh, no doubt about it. Well, we're going to get into some questions now. So I think, you just answered that, but what was the moment for you when you realized you were operating on someone else's script and said enough's enough?
When it turned into Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
When you realize that life is Groundhog Day, every day was the same shit, same problems, same everything. And I realized that life wasn't only impacting me physically, it was impacting me mentally. And I guess over the last couple of years with listening to my kids, we spoke about my daughter, my son. My son could have written this book himself with the way he lives life.
Yeah.
My daughter's one of those girls that has the fear of missing out. She wants to be with her friends. She wants to be part of the social scene and everything else. My son's, fuck, I don't care.
Yeah, he's just
There's
living.
a party tonight. I don't give a shit. I want to get up tomorrow and go to the gym.
Yeah.
I want to, he wants to go play golf.
Yeah.
He'd rather spend time with who he wants to spend time with than follow the masses to whatever the whole group is doing it. And I almost envy him for that because I was never like that. I was like my daughter. I wanted to be involved in everything.
Yeah, same here. Same here. But that's great. I mean, that he was able to, at a young age, obviously, separate himself from trying to, keep up with everybody, all the friends, and he said, "Fuck it, I'm going to do what I want when I want," and that's great. And for you, I think one of the hottest things becomes, like you said, you're worried about bills, you're worried about work, you're worried about it at home, but when you're at the job, the the corporate job, you're stressing out in your relationships at home. You said you were very short tempered with the kids and your wife. Now the job's affecting your at home, your home life, and you're one step away from blowing up. But was there ever a moment where your wife was like, "Hey, you got to fucking calm down," or the kids were like, "Hey, Dad, like, what the hell's going on?"
My wife's an amazing woman. She's a Bronx girl, so she'd put me right in my place.
I was gonna say, you're lucky she don't beat your ass then.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. She might cut me before she'll yell at me. You never. No, she's an amazing woman. There's been some times we've gone at it like just screaming, hooting, and hollering. But every married couple has.
No doubt.
And you know what? That's part of life.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's one of the toughest women I know, and I don't think I would be where I am now without her kind of punching me in the face every once in a while and, keeping me in check. I mean, I can be her third kid sometimes, and, it's just the way it is.
So she's your biggest supporter in life.
But I'm lucky enough to have my mother and father still with me.
Yeah.
They are as well. But yeah, she's my rock. And no matter how tough of an exterior I have, she's the tough one in the family by far.
Yeah. So they go to Dad when they need something, not Mom.
No, in that instance, they go to Mom.
So what did your wife say when you had the heart problem, when you had those issues? What did she sit down with you and tell you, like, "Hey, you got to slow it the fuck down"? Or
no, because I wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. It would have been a pointless conversation.
Yeah.
I was again, no matter how stressful it was comfort because the paycheck was always there.
Yeah.
And the comfort was literally going to kill me slowly.
Yeah.
I didn't know where else to go. When I left the Postal Service, I had to take a pay cut in order to go to another job. Well, how am I going to cover this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do this? And when you get down to it, we wind up financing our own self-worth in a lot of instances. Again, that's a social media push now, but we take our material goods and think that's what gives us value in life. And that was the first, okay, I don't need the expensive car. We can not downgrade. We can right size it. I hate using downgrade. Yeah. We can right size it to this. I don't need a 26. I drive a 2011 GMC Terrain. It gets me from point A to point B. Everybody fits in it. There's nothing mechanically wrong with it. It's not the Mercedes G-Wagon that somebody else is pulling in with.
Yeah.
But I started to realize that those material expenses were only causing more stress to me. And, it was one of those things where I made the changes that were required to meet the income change I had, no matter how tough they were. And, as I progressed in the job and started making more money, I tried not to vary off of that too much.
Yeah.
You wind up, you make $100,000 a year, you're spending 120.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. You make 150, you're spending 170. And I tried to break that cycle. And to me now, success has become like being able to say no and just like, I'm not desperate to prove myself to anybody.
Yeah.
It's my terms now. Yeah. And listen, I'm not a guru. I'm not a professional. I don't have any training in this. I'm just a schmuck that's fucked up too many times. Actually looked in my mirror and realized I was 95% of the problem and started to analyze what I needed to do. I stopped financing bullshit. I stopped comparing myself to other people. Jordan Peterson had a statement, and this was one of him and Gary Vaynerchuk are two I'm very, very big on listening to.
Yeah.
He had a statement that the only person that you ever need to compare yourself to is the person that laid in bed on your pillow the night before. Because if you wake up this morning and you're better than you were yesterday, you've done your job.
Yeah, so true. So true. I always like to say that, I'll never become a, millionaire and I'll never have those riches or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not rich, but I'm rich with love in my heart, So that's one of the hottest things, because me being a union guy, I've been doing it since out of high school. I'm divorced. I got an ex-wife because I spend too much time at work and, I work on the railroad. So it's very demanding and I do the union work as well there. part of the local. So it's almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where I literally now am learning the small things of, you know what? Work's going to be there regardless if I'm there or not. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to go crazy about it. I don't need to work 7 shifts a week. You know, we all love the money, but what the hell am I doing with it? Nothing. I'm spending it on something stupid. So I'm learning now to, live in the moment, live for today, and just enjoy it, because like you said, living on someone else's, script where you don't even think, you don't even think about it. Like you said, Groundhog Day is very one that touches me, for the simple fact is that's what the railroad, that's what my life was like for 10 years. I would wake up, go to work for 16 hours, come home. And then once a month, my ex-wife and I would go away. I would go away for 5 days. And I thought everything was okay, because I was taking her away for 5 days, and that's how it went. And didn't work out, but it's one of those where you put the monetary, you put the vacations, you put all that before everything else, where it's like, fuck it. Does it matter if I'm fucking vacationing or not? Now I stay home and relax and watch a football game, and it's like, that was the greatest Sunday I ever had, instead of going into work.
See, but I'll bet you, and I don't want to delve too much into your stuff, personally, but when you were on those vacations, kind of like I say with my kids and my wife, were you present?
No,
Because that's the big thing. When
no,
you're taking the union phone calls and doing all that shit while you're on vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my wife, I got a phone call from work at 5 o'clock in the morning. We were in Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And I walked out of the hotel and I went outside and I was smoking a cigarette, having a cup of coffee, and I was on the phone with my boss because something went down the night before. And my wife, I thought I was quiet. I guess my wife heard everything with me getting ready to go outside. And she comes outside and she knew my boss. And she says, if you're on the phone with so-and-so, I'm going to fucking kill the both of you. I was like, oh, sorry, got to go. And I hung up and that was it. But yeah, it was one of those things. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I would be on vacation and I would be calling my office to check in.
Yeah.
I had my emails on my phone and I was physically present, but I was never really mentally present because I didn't control my own life. Right. I didn't control my decisions. I let somebody else control them.
Same here. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And that's the tough part. I had that awakening and it was really, really a huge
I'm just learning that now. I also remember one night being out with her, and it was our one night out for the week, and same thing. Take a phone call from work. I said, I'm gonna step outside. We had already ordered the food and everything. I came back 25 minutes later after the phone call, and guess what? All the food's wrapped up. She's ready to go. Just pay the fucking bill. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what's the problem? What happened? I didn't think I was the problem, but you look back and you say to yourself, fuck, I was the problem. The fucking phone call could have waited, or I could have, so there's so many things we do where it can be, you think you're doing the right thing by either work or wherever, but I like to say now a lot of my sweat equity, I like to now put at home rather than at work.
Yeah. I mean, I can actually, and it's sad because this is where I was so controlled by their script. I can actually look at pictures of times out with my family and I can almost remember work shit that happened while I was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh my God, that was the trip to the Outer Banks. Oh yeah, so and so got into an accident that first day we were there, and
so and so got suspended, and yeah,
and it was part of it. And for me now, I've reevaluated my definition of my success. When I was living their rules and living their script, my definition of success was I made the numbers. I'm getting paid. I have the car. I have the da-da-da and all the other shit that I'm told I'm supposed to have.
Yeah.
And now it's really time and freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, I do work in a job where I get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning that somebody hit a hydrant or water's blowing out of the ground.
Yeah.
My responsibility is to respond.
Exactly. Yeah. But you don't have to sit there for 45 minutes and explain, this, you get up and go.
And my wife knows that's the responsibility.
Yeah.
But I worked with a guy in one of I changed areas that I worked with. I worked with a guy that left his daughter's wife because there was an issue at work. And we had a crew of, we had a 15-man shop. That was his definition of success was being the superhero.
Yeah.
And he walked out of his daughter's reception with about 45 minutes to go because there was an issue at work. For me, I'm a first, only, and last. I'm never going to miss my kids' first thing. I'm never going to miss their only thing, and I'm never going to miss their last thing. And I came to that realization. Luckily enough, I came to it early enough in their lives where they're not on me for it. You know what I mean? But I can tell you, I can tell you stuff I missed for work. Oh, you got a 4:30 game? Okay, yeah, I'm leaving work at 3:30. Something happens, I stay till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Now they do understand, if I get stuck at work, I get stuck at work, but I'm not going to miss. Like I said, first, last, and only.
Yeah. No, like you were able to get up to Springfield and enjoy the weekend away, watch him, your son play in the Jamboree. Imagine if you're at your other job, how many calls you would have taken.
When my daughter was in her recruiting summer, it was 2 summers ago. It was a sophomore to junior year of high school is the big, where my son is now. That's the big recruiting for college season.
Yeah.
We did 31 nights in hotels between June and the second week of August. Probably drove about 10,000 miles. Went to a couple games at Camden Yards. Went to DC. Did all this stuff we could do while we were, not stuck in certain locations, but we had downtime.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have given up that and the traveling experiences with my son as well for anything in the world.
For anything. And for all the money in the world, you would.
No, you could tell me you pay me $1 million to stay home this past weekend with my son. Pay me $1 million to miss that insane summer with my daughter, and probably going to have it with my son this coming summer. Yeah, I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Yeah,
anything. But now that's because I'm living on my terms.
Yeah, no, that's
the biggest part of it.
Yeah, in the book you talk about owning your own shit. What does that phrase mean to you? And why is it such a foundational piece?
Because you can't fix something if you don't know it's fucked up. And owning your own shit, like I said before, you could sit down and tell anybody you want what's wrong with them. I can analyze everybody else. But until I sit down, look at myself in the mirror and realize that I have shit going wrong, until I own that shit, I can't fix it. And that's the first thing that has to be done, is sitting down and realizing that your life's a sum of your decisions, your actions. It's not your parents, it's not the economy, it's not your boss, it's not your wife, it's not your kids. And it's when you truly understand that it's you and it's your shit, that's when you're ready to sit down and start rewriting your story chapter by chapter. Like I said, you can't fix what you don't know is broken, and owning your shit and looking in the mirror is step one.
So it's almost like, being truthful and honest with yourself finally.
We lie to ourselves more than anybody.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. One of the biggest things is, November's Men's Mental Health Awareness. And, there's a lot of people that struggle with a lot of different things. But what's the number one response you get from most guys? I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Listen,
I lost 4 friends in 90 days to suicide recently. One from college, one from high school, one very close friend locally, and a friend of a husband of a friend of my wife. I guarantee if you spoke to them the week before, they would have told you they're fine.
Exactly.
And fine is a word that, especially women use it too, so I can't say only as men, but as a society, we've learned to just say that we're fine. And I know there's a mental health stigma when it comes to speaking about anything, especially with men, that's deemed as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm very open with it. I am diagnosed bipolar disorder. I've been on medication for probably the last 10 years. Has lengthened that fuse that I had very short. So that also contributed to it outside of the stress of work.
Yeah.
But, nobody needs a miracle to correct certain things about themselves. They need their mirror. And if I never said, you know what, there's something firing wrong with me right now, and I never owned my shit, I never would have went to the therapist. I never would have dealt with it. And God only knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
So that's really the crux of just owning it.
Owning it, exactly. Yeah, no, like myself, I got anxiety and depression. Lost my father 17 years ago, my mother a couple years back. And, one of the biggest things is, I'm okay. But I see a therapist, I got, meds and all that stuff. But I speak about it because I think it's such an issue where it's okay to speak about it. It's actually a good thing to speak about it, because a lot of people think it's, like you said, a sign of weakness. There's nothing weak about talking about your problems or what's going on. There's nothing weak at all,
What's the difference between going to the therapist and getting some medication, or even just having the therapy, however that works? What's the difference between that than going to the doctor because you just broke your leg?
Exactly.
Why the fuck do we look at it any differently?
So true.
It's a medical condition being treated by a doctor. No different than having a surgery. Breaking your leg, nothing else. But because it's a mental thing, it's really taken as a sign of weakness, and it's usually not addressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it goes unaddressed. Yeah, unaddressed. And I think that's a great, little thing right there, is we don't consider ourselves weak when we go to the doctors.
No.
Yeah. But if you go see a doctor in the, mental health field, you're weak, but I think that's one of the biggest things. It's okay to, it's okay not to be okay, but seek some help, seek some treatment, talk to somebody, talk to someone you're comfortable with, reach out to a, psychiatrist, reach out to, 988's a number you can text or call whenever. It's a crisis hotline. You can call it, text it. It's always 24/7, 365. There's someone always on the other line you can talk to or text with. It doesn't make you any less of a man to reach out if you're struggling or going through it. What are some of the biggest lies or myths people tell themselves that keep them living by someone else's story?
That they're happy, number one. Number two, that one of the biggest lies that people tell themselves, and this is the easiest way to say it, is when they put caveats on things.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the gym, but first I have to go buy a pair of sneakers. Or I'm going to start eating healthy, but shit, I just spent a bunch of money on junk food, so I'm going to eat that first, then I'm going to start eating healthy. We lie to ourselves when we look in the mirror and we say there's nothing that can be fixed. When I use the term owning your shit, it's not about being guilty for what you've done, or it's not about being guilty for what's gone wrong in your life. It's about actually having power and having control over your existence.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing about it. Can't fix what you won't face. And the biggest lie we tell ourselves most of the time is that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Or the way we want it to be is an even better way to say it, and it's not somebody else's script. You don't owe the world a fucking thing. You really don't. You owe yourself peace, and you get that peace by actually having control.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's moving, because a lot of people, like you said, that they say, my life's great, it's going this, but in reality, it's, just trying to keep up with the guy next door or keep up with your coworkers, or I don't,
yeah, but why do we? That's where we really need to audit ourselves and look inside on why keeping up with somebody becomes a focus of ours as a society.
Yeah.
I mean, you go online now, and I mean, my two things I look at, and they're really like my what the fuck moments, are Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
When everybody needs to post the pictures of all the gifts stacked up to the ceiling. My kids are 18 and 15.
Yeah.
And I watch people post pictures for their 18 and 15-year-olds. And, in that age range with, 100 gifts for Christmas. What are you getting that this kid needs for 100? I understand the whole, it's Christmas, Santa Claus, but they're 18 and 15 years old. Yeah. My daughter said to me last night, she texted me because I threw out the text like, yo, Christmas is coming. Start filling up my Amazon cart. Let's get it done. She texted me last night. She's like, I don't want anything for Christmas. I was like, really? She goes, yeah, just cut me a fucking check. I'm like, all right, that works for me.
That's easy enough.
But you see these, and every year it's like a competition on who can post a picture with the most presents.
Yeah.
Who can have the most shit. And that's gotten crazy. The other thing I look at, these Sweet 16s.
Crazy. Yeah.
Holy shit, man. I mean, when my daughter turned 16, she had an ultimatum. You want a one-day party or you want a car?
Yeah.
Because I'll buy it. And man, did this girl step in shit. My neighbor sold a 2007 Mustang. And I got it for pennies on a dollar.
That's awesome.
Did a little work. Had somebody do. I don't do cars. I do. I could build you a house, but I can't do anything but change my tires and change my oil. And she said, you know what? I want the car. It serves a purpose. And I was really proud of that decision. I mean, we did the Sweet 16 birthday party. We had, probably 50, 75 people over the house. There was beer, there was hamburgers, there was hot dogs, there was cornhole. Yeah. It was a fun time, and it was very laid back. It didn't cost me $30,000 or $40,000 that you see these people pay for parties that are bigger than my wedding.
Exactly. Yeah. But it seems like your two kids are grounded. They're very grounded, where they're not, like your daughter said, hey, I don't need any gifts, just cut me a check. It's like they're not asking for much. They know what they need, and to her, she could have put a million things probably in your Amazon cart, and you probably would have bought them for her because it's Christmas. But just give me a couple bucks. And you said your son's just self-sufficient, where he just does his own thing and doesn't give a fuck. What anyone says.
I'm very lucky to live with 3 very low maintenance people, and part of me owning my shit was the fact that I realized I wasn't the low maintenance person. My wife, my daughter, and my son, I won't say want for nothing, but they are as low maintenance as they come.
as they come back.
You know, I was the one that thought that I had to get them things in order to be a provider. And I was putting myself in debt. You know, I was putting myself in debt trying to finance my own self-worth. And it wasn't just for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't like grasp how buying them things was not the way to be a provider. You know, it was one of those things that just got to me. And then I realized that they're not asking me for anything.
Yeah.
You know, they need sneakers. That's my son. My son's one big purchase every year.
Yeah.
Basketball season starts next Monday. He wants his high-level basketball sneakers. They touch nothing but a basketball court. The season's over. It's been that way. My dad did it for me when I was a kid. Besides that, man, they're very, very, very low maintenance. I have to actually ask them if they need stuff.
Fair.
You know, are you good with clothes? Are you good with shoes? I mean, besides my daughter calling me up and saying, you know, everybody's going out to the bar tonight. Can I borrow a few dollars? Or I need to stock some food in my dorm room. Yeah, she's not
You're not asking
for
for
much.
anything.
No, my son and my wife neither. You know,
Yeah.
I need to get a haircut. Can I get my nails done? We're going out next week. I need to get a dress. We're going to a party, and you know, I'd like something new. But it's not like, you know, every Friday night.
Exactly.
You know, but I was the one, and that's where I owned it. I was the one that was putting us in debt. I was the one that needed to finance my self-worth because I needed to buy them things to feel like the provider, and I needed the Facebook posts.
Yeah.
I needed the Instagram posts where people saw that we bought shit, or else I felt like I wasn't.
Wasn't providing there.
Yeah.
Almost unrealistic expectations, you know, trying to do all that for, you know, almost for yourself and for them, but for no reason at all, because you were following someone else's script, you know?
Yeah. I was being told what I needed to do as a person, as a father, as a provider, as just an overall human being. I thought that material items was the way to go. And it was being fed to me. Look, everywhere you look, you have no escape from it.
No.
It's on you. You know, you and I have a conversation right now about something. My cell phone's sitting on the table next to me. I'm getting 87 advertisements about it tomorrow.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Not even the next time I log on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm going to get 85 advertisements about it. It's going to tell me that I can't live without it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's going to show me that, well, Mikey and Jimmy and Johnny all bought it.
Yeah.
Now you need it too.
So true. You know, I remember as a kid growing up, there was 7 of us at one point in time, and my dad and mom would always get us together, and they would basically say to us, you know, for Christmas, I need a wish and a want. You know, what's something you need, what's something you wish for, and what's something you really want, you know? And you know, we would tell them, and you know, every Christmas we'd get what we wanted, and we were very lucky. You know, it wasn't crazy like it is now. You know, like you said, you imagine what some people do, how much debt they put themselves into just for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, and for what? There's only so many toys what kid can play with. There's only so much. You know, like I saw a buddy of mine last year giving his kid motorized, you know, an e-bike, a full ATV 4-wheeler, and I'm like, how much do you fucking spend on the kid? You know? Oh, it was like $25,000 for Christmas. I'm like, 25,000, like
but
sure.
That's what you're getting.
You know,
that's what you're getting. You're spending this Christmas and you're paying it off till next Christmas.
Exactly.
If you're paying it off by next Christmas.
Financing Christmas on the card, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. But I like the words you use that your parents use, the wish and a want.
Yeah.
And the third word that goes in that category is one that we've really come to abuse, and that's need.
Need, yeah. Yeah.
We've blurred the lines between wish, want, and need so deeply as a society. And again, stems from social media, stems from what we're fed.
Yeah.
That we don't even know what a fucking need is anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I need the new video game. I need designer clothes. I need the new car. You know, I don't know if I sent it to you, but one of the case studies, quote unquote, which is stories I've heard or actually seen, was about a couch. A wife wanted a couch. It was $1,400. The husband said they couldn't afford it. So they went out and bought a $500 couch. She filed divorce papers a month and a half later. That was actually a car.
Yeah.
It was a guy I knew, worked with probably 15 or 16 years ago. And we had gotten promotions around the same time. And the promotion came with 10%. You know, it was a nice nut, but it wasn't, you know, you weren't making $1 million. Well, she wanted the Mercedes because that raise, like you said, you make 100,000, you spend 120. That raise was enough to cover a lease payment for a Mercedes, but it was probably the entire raise. And he said, no. He said, if you want it, take it out on your own credit, feel free. But this money's going to this, or whatever their personal expenditures was, I don't know. But I just know that he wasn't putting the money towards that.
Hey.
And a month and a half later, she was gone.
She was gone.
Yeah. And putting the material over everything is just what we've become as a society.
Yeah.
And it's because we're living somebody else's script. We're living what we're told to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, the definition of success isn't a universal thing, not one size fits all. You know, the world tells you to believe, you know, cars and houses and promotions. All that does is just keep you on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Once you figure out your own definition, that's your North Star, for lack of a better term. You know, that'll guide you where you want to be, and that'll guide you to how to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's really the crux of what I tried to get to with the book.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, that's like you just said, sort of your off ramp to someone else's script to your own, you know?
Yeah, but you know, and you're not going to be perfect.
None of us are. Yeah.
You're not. You've got to audit your own reality right now. And you got to own your shit and see what needs to be fixed. Listen, you're going to fuck up. We all do. Listen, I wrote the book and I'm in the process.
Yeah.
Every day I'm in the process. Like I said, I'm not one of those people that's talking to you from a pillar because I've got the perfect life and I've got everything figured out. I'd fuck up just like the next guy.
Yeah.
Two steps forward, one step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sooner or later you get where you're going, but you've got to have that North Star to follow.
Yeah. But you're doing it on your own. You know, you're doing it on your own script now, which is great. So, you know, rewriting the story sounds empowering, but also messy. What's one truth you discovered during your own rewriting process that surprised you?
The fact that it's going to be 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, it can't be, it's not a definitive stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neither one of us can say tomorrow, fuck my job. I'm going to the south of France and I'm going to rewrite my story there.
Yeah.
Because guess what? 2 weeks down the road, we're going to be begging for change on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So it's not a definitive stop. It's not a straight drive either.
Yeah.
And I think that's the messiest part about rewriting your story. It's just like, you know, it's like going to the gym. You know, half of the people going to the gym, they work out for 3 days and they're like, holy shit, I'm not in shape yet. Meanwhile, they came back, threw down a bag of Doritos and a 6-pack of Coca-Cola while they're watching TV at night.
Yeah.
You've got to, you know, first and foremost, the hardest part about rewriting your story is cutting dead weight. And that can be anything.
That can be people. That can be.
It can be, that's where I was getting to. Yeah. It might be people. I've learned to distance myself from people that don't provide value.
Yeah.
You know, I've also learned to distance myself from people who became points of comparison for me.
Okay.
Prior.
Yeah.
You know, I've taken I still love the people. I care about them, but they were a poison.
Yeah.
Because they were the ones posting the pictures on the big vacations.
Yeah.
They were the ones driving the new car every 2 weeks. Or 2 years, excuse me.
Yeah.
They were the ones with the monstrosity pile of Christmas presents every Christmas. And they were my poison. They were also my drug.
Yeah.
Because I felt that I had to get to that level. And when I did, I got that dopamine hit that made me feel good for that moment. So I ordered in my circle and I cut the dead weight in that aspect. Yeah. Cutting the dead weight in another aspect is really going into, I don't know where I heard it. It was some TV show when I was a kid. It was something to do with your closet. And I did it 1 year. Yeah. I just flipped my closet over to my fall stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have the walk-in closets or anything like that. So I got to kind of make do with Rubbermaid tubs and change clothes. Every hanger is facing the wrong way, opening towards me when I walk in a closet. When I wear something and then I rehang it up, I put it back the normal way. At the end of the fall, winter season, when I finally flip over to my spring and summer, probably 50% of my shit in the closet, the hangers are still facing the wrong way because I never wore it. Yeah. And if I've made it through an entire fall and winter and haven't worn this article of clothing, fuck do I need it for anymore? And cutting that dead weight doesn't mean, you know, throwing those clothes out because you might need them. Yeah. Cutting that dead weight shows you that you don't need to buy anything else.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. And I think that's, you know, one of the biggest things you know, people love to do is just buy, you know, for a while I was just, when I went, you know, I've lost close to 80 pounds. But when I was a big guy, I was always going into, these stores, and it was always buy one, buy two, get two free, or buy three, get one free. And it's like, oh, I'll buy three so I can get one free. And t-shirts that I have from, when I was my biggest are still in totes in my laundry room that I've never even touched, like we just buy to buy, and it's
it's something to do.
Yeah.
There's so much shit out there that doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah.
That can fill time.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Yeah.
And we wind up literally going out and shopping has not become a need anymore.
No.
Shopping has become a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
That fills our time.
That fills our time. Yeah. Yeah. So what do you consider the most challenging barrier when someone decides to step off the pre-written path, and how do you help them navigate it?
It's what you're going to hear from people that stay on the path. That's going to be the hardest thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be from the people that used to go out with on a Friday night and drop $250 on dinner just because. When I could have made a dinner just as nice for $40, and we could have sat here and got drunk for under 100 total.
Yeah, easily.
You're gonna hear shit from people. Yeah. And those are people that are still walking that path. Those are people that are still running on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
That's definitely the hardest. And you really just have to learn to say fuck you.
Yeah.
Not verbally. You don't have to go tell everybody to go fuck themselves.
Unless you
I mean, more power to you, whatever you want to do. But it's you've got to say it internally.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the hardest part about writing the book, and this doesn't have to do with this, but it kind of ties in. The hardest part about writing the book and publishing it was not the process. It was not the writing. It was not the publishing. It was not anything else. It was the first hometown football game that I went to after the book was published and it was released.
Yeah.
I was actually concerned about what people were going to say. And you had a couple, oh, here comes the author. Yeah. One of my best friends calls me Rob Twain. And, that's completely out of jest. I love him. So but I was worried about what other people were going to think.
Yeah.
And then I started hearing it, and I heard it from two people. And I was like, oh, you're going to buy the book? And they're like, no, probably not. I said, then your fucking opinion doesn't matter to me. And I just walked away. And that was a very enlightening experience. And I actually said it. So it wasn't just in my head.
No, exactly.
But when it comes to rewriting, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get pushback from the guys you used to go to happy hour with and drop $100 on a Friday. You're going to get the pushback from, listen, I'm lucky enough that I didn't. You may get the pushback from your family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why are we not buying this? Why are we not going to the Bahamas this year? You know what? I can't fucking afford it.
Yeah.
Or whatever your reasoning is. We're living and we're making money and we're paying the bills and we're buying stuff. But guess what? I don't have fuck you money.
Yeah.
I don't have that little pot of money that if something goes wrong, fuck you, I can get it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So maybe you're skipping the vacation to build that fund.
A fund, exactly.
That was one of my first things I did was put a fuck you fund together.
Yeah.
So when you have that cushion, you're a lot more comfortable because it's not coming at you at 24.99% like everybody does with the credit card.
Exactly. Yeah. So true. So in your view, how much of your life path is given? Education, job, society, and how much is chosen? And what's the balance?
Your life is given to you until you have the ability to make your own decisions. When you're a kid, you're going to go to school. Once you're done with high school, you start making decisions on your own to an extent. You live at home with mom and dad. Guess what? They still run the fucking show no matter what you say.
Right.
But when it comes to what you're going to do out of high school, that's your first decision. You got to go to grammar school. You got to go to high school. That's just that's written. That's law pretty much.
Yeah.
But when you graduate, are you going to go to the military? Are you going to go into the trades? Are you going to go to college? How are you going to pay for college?
Yeah.
And then from there on out, every action and decision you make from there is you.
Is you, yeah.
It really is. And I don't think, I think nowadays, I think kids are growing up way too slow.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk says it all the time. If your parents are paying all your bills at 24 years old and you don't have a job, they're doing you a fucking injustice.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Yeah, so true.
If they're putting a roof over your head, they're putting a roof over your head, they're cooking you dinner, whatever. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But if they're paying for your nights out and they're paying for everything else, something's wrong.
Something's wrong, yeah. Yeah.
And we really have to realize that once we leave high school, from that point forward, we are making our own decisions that are going to dictate the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts.
So that's initially where you can say that, someone is either going to follow the plan script or someone's going to follow their own script.
Yeah, somebody's going to do what they're told,
Yeah.
or they're going to make a move. You know, we grew up in a generation where, and here's the control of the powers that be. We grew up in a generation where it was almost looked down upon not to go to college.
Yeah.
You know, it was pushed on you. College was the way to go. Meanwhile, I know a lot of blue collar guys that are making more money than corporate people hand over fist. But you were told that college is the only way to go. Now, fast forward, I don't want to say 30 years since I graduated high school, but it's pretty fucking close. They're pushing the trade. Why? Because the powers that be have to wait 6-8 weeks for somebody to come to their mansion and do some fucking plumbing or electrical work because there aren't enough guys and women in the trades out
In the
there.
trades, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things, you know, I talked to some of my past guests about it, is that I think it's okay now for kids to realize that not college isn't for everybody, you know?
No.
And I think one of the biggest things needs to be is that, you know, we need to have more trade schools, you know, more trade programs, because it's okay. These kids that aren't going to college, it's okay to get in a trade. Like you said, I remember before I became an inspector on the railroad where I am, I was a coach cleaner. I cleaned trains. I was a janitor by trade, you know? And I remember my buddy went to college and was working his job, and I was making more money as a janitor on the railroad a week than he was making in 2 weeks with the freaking college degree.
Yeah.
You know, and he said, "Where the fuck did I go wrong?" I said, I don't know what to tell you, but you know, but that's one of the biggest things. And I was lucky enough where I got into a union job at a young age, right out of high school. And I've been here since, but it's okay for kids. If you don't want to go to college, you don't have to. There's trades, but the one thing I can say is you're not going to sit your ass at home and do nothing, you know?
No.
Get out there and work.
And listen, I wound up playing baseball into college, so I went and I graduated.
Yeah.
And I look back at it, and there's a part of me that wonders what would have been had I gone the trade route. You know, I talk to my son now all the time. He's a good student. Like I said, he's got a level head on his shoulders. He busts his ass with his sports on top of busting his ass with school. And my daughter did the same. He doesn't know if he wants to go to college. My daughter wanted to go. And when my daughter got her scholarship to play lacrosse, she was locked in. Yeah. She knew that was the path she wanted to take. And I'm proud of her for all the work she put in to do that. My son doesn't know what he wants to do. I told him, I said, hey, listen, if I get a scholarship to college to play a sport, I'm going to play a sport.
Yeah.
But if I don't get that scholarship, no, I see it. If I don't get that scholarship, I may go into the trades. And I may take out a loan after I get my thing, and I'm going to buy a van, and I'm going to buy all the tools I need, and I'm going to start my own business.
Yeah.
You get down to bare bones, man. If you become an electrician or a plumber right now, and you have the ability to finance the tools you need to start your own company, you could say goodbye to everybody that graduated college, because you're going to be making more money than them 2 years in.
No doubt about it. I got a couple buddies that electricians here in Boston, and forget about it. It's, you know, they go into their regular job during the day and they make more money at night doing side jobs and all this, just 2-3 hour jobs. Forget it, you know, hand over fists. But it's a great thing, you know, like I said, college isn't for everybody. I was down in DC, my first trip ever to Washington, DC with the union. And I met a congressman from Rhode Island. And one of his biggest pushes was, and this was 10 years ago, was we have to start investing more in trade schools, you know? And I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, we've gone away from, where still, I think kids are still pushed. Hey, you got to go to college. You know, you still got to go, not as much, but they're still pushed. And it's like, for what? $250,000 in debt.
I mean, if my daughter was paying full price for school for 4 years, she'd be almost $300,000.
$300,000 in the hole.
$300,000 in the hole to start off with.
Yeah.
If, you know, she hadn't gotten the lacrosse scholarship and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Crazy.
Think of it, but think about it. Here's a script. You're going to go $300,000 in a hole with a college degree.
Yeah.
Then you get out of school and you need a car to drive.
Yeah.
So let's take on that $600 a month car payment.
Yeah.
Instead of buying a $2,500 beater.
Yeah.
We're going to take out that nice car payment, and we're going to pay $300 a month in insurance on that car.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, I met the perfect someone for me. I want to get married. Well, let's now pay $300 a plate to have a $60,000 wedding, because you know you need the limos, the DJ, and all the other shit. Because
everything.
Mary down the street had them, and so just posted their wedding in California. Some schmuck you don't even know who had a fucking cell phone. And then after that, let's go house poor and let's get a McMansion, even though it's just me and my spouse. because we need the McMansion with 11 bedrooms. Meanwhile, we don't have kids.
Yeah.
We don't we don't spend to our needs.
Yeah.
We spend to our wants.
No doubt about it. And I think that's, as a society, I think it's, in America, especially here, where it's everybody tries to, one of my biggest things was, computers, right? Electronics. And I was going through my corner over there with all my electronics, and I have 2 MacBooks, a stupid Microsoft tablet / computer, an Ace. I have about 7 computers, and you know what? They all do the same fucking thing. But I needed this one because this one was better than that one, and this one was better than that one. And hey, you know what? This one's on sale. I don't fucking need any of them. I just need one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, you look in closets, and last time I checked, you only got one fucking pair of feet.
Exactly.
Why are there 100 pairs of shoes?
Shoes. Yeah.
What, that black pair of shoes looks different than that black pair of shoes, or that brown one looks different than that brown one? I mean, we all do it. We all do it, and everybody has their thing. I think if I buy another hat, my wife's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Hats and t-shirts. Thank God it's the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
But it's hats and t-shirts. We went the same thing. We went to DC this past fall.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to DC? Oh yeah, I need a shirt from the National Monument.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I need a shirt from the National Monument for? But we do it.
We do. And, like you said, what do we need a shirt for? We saw it. We were there. We saw it with our own 2 eyes, 4 eyes. We saw it. We don't need a t-shirt to commemorate that,
Listen, I can tell you, and my son's the history buff. My daughter is a moments person.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying. My son was all about the history. He loved, reading and everything else. My daughter was about the emotion in the moment.
Yeah.
Like standing on the Lincoln Monument, overlooking the pool, and the Washington Monument. She gets enthralled by that stuff. Yeah. Walking in and seeing the pure mass of the Lincoln statue and the MLK statue and all that stuff.
And you can see the footprints where, Martin Luther King stood and said the speech. And
right.
So touching,
I mean, I'll tell you, the biggest, I mean, I don't think I've ever been overcome by emotion more in my life from being somewhere than I went for the first time into the Holocaust Museum.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you did that down in DC where you were there. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, there's a mix of just pure disgust and sorrow. And it was one of those, it was just so emotionally, I guess, draining in every aspect. For the 2 hours we walked through there, seeing everything and actually seeing what occurred. And I look back at it and I was able to, I don't want to use the word enjoy. I was able to experience what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
Because I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was mentally there.
Present. Yeah.
Present.
Yeah.
And I think if I go back to, 5, 10, 12 years ago, I wouldn't have gotten out of it what I did. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just, it happened to be one big one that hit me while we were down there.
Well, because you were on your own script. If you were on someone else's, you would have
If work was calling me about something, I would have taken the call. I would have not experienced any of the emotions that were brought about by that. I also wouldn't have experienced 90% of the stuff I did with my family while we were down there. I'm a huge proponent of no cell phones at dinner. We push for that when we're taking these long car rides. I was lucky my dad came with us this weekend up to Springfield.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, the 3 of us were in the car just bullshit.
Yeah.
My son gets that. I'm gonna close my eyes for a little bit, throw his AirPods in, listen to music, fall asleep, whatever. But I think we've lost a lot of the interpersonal connections because we're so enthralled in whether it's our job or it's social media or everything else that we don't even know how to have a conversation.
No, so true. And that must have been awesome for you to be able to drive up there with the old man and talk to him on the drive up.
I'm lucky. I have a raised ranch, and downstairs is a in-law apartment.
Okay.
So they're both downstairs.
Awesome.
So I'm lucky enough, and I drive to work every morning and have a conversation with my mother.
Yeah.
My 25 minute ride to work because she's the only one that's up as early as I am.
Yeah.
I mean, just bullshit. You know what I mean? Just bullshit.
But just having that connection still, just being able to call her and talk to her. And that's a lot of people don't, some people don't have that due to deaths, or some people don't have that because of relationship wise. But, it seems like you have a very tight knit family over there, with your 2 kids, your wife, and your mom and dad. That's it's remarkable, Now,
I appreciate it.
Would you say that now if you were still on the script, not your own, that things would be a little different? Or
that I gotta say, the relationship with my parents has always been tight, always.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, mom and dad, if you're hearing it, but I was an absolute fuck up for probably a solid 5 years. So the fact that they still put up with me,
yeah,
they're very, very patient people.
Yeah.
I will say that 110%.
No.
But yeah, no, I'm very blessed to have them around and to have the relationship I do. I appreciate it a lot more now
Yeah.
than I did before, because I mean, you call reality. It's hopefully not close to the end, but it's definitely approaching at some point in time in the next 20, 25 years. It's also my kids. They're very grounded, I think, because they have them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my flaws prior to really sitting down and owning my shit and reevaluating was dampened by the common sense of my wife and my parents, to be 100% honest. And I can tell you 110%, you and I would not be having this open of a conversation if I hadn't really sat down and self-evaluated and
Self-reflect.
I write my own rules now. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't care what anyone says. It's about you. It's about your script, the family, mom and dad, and the people that care.
Yeah, I mean, some people are going to listen to this podcast and be like, wow, this guy's fucked up. And you know what? Whatever. Have fun. And some people are going to be like, wow, all right, this guy's got his shit somewhat together. And I didn't think anybody would ever say that about me. But, it took a lot of self-evaluation and like I say in the book, toughest person you're ever going to have to talk to is in the mirror.
Yeah. So for someone who's listening who is stuck in a role of life they don't love, what are 3 practical first steps you'd suggest right now?
First and foremost, everybody has non-negotiables. There are certain aspects of your life or your person of who you are that you're not going to change. Number 1, to me, I'm always going to be genuine. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for anybody. I'm always going to be the person that I am. Like it or dislike it, you're getting it. My other non-negotiable is my family. There's no dynamic change being made there except for the fact that maybe I toned down being an asshole a little bit. But that's first and foremost. Your next is really going back to cutting dead weight.
Yeah.
It's going to be the hardest thing you have to do, but you have to do it. There's no sidestepping that.
That's a must.
It's a 100. That's a non-negotiable to owning your shit and rewriting what you want to do. You're not going to swim the Atlantic Ocean with a fucking 300-pound weight on your back.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And that dead weight that you're carrying, whether it's your debt, the people you hang out with, fucking bad habits. One of the things I did, and listen, I like a good cocktail more than anybody, was a lot of the people I cut away from frequently were the people I were drinking with.
Yeah.
I didn't go to happy hour with the group I would go to happy hour with. I wasn't as keen to, having a beer just for the sake of having a beer because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the changes I've made. I mean, I had a few beers this weekend in the hotel watching the Notre Dame game, just sitting by myself, watching the game, having a beer because, you're in a hotel, everybody else is sleeping. I can't be hooting and hollering at Notre Dame. And I think that was the first drink I've had in like a month.
Yeah.
Where it would be like every weekend.
Yeah.
And that was a dead weight cut for me. And then I guess the third is you've got to test the waters on any change you want to make. And then you've got to adapt to the result of it,
Yeah.
You can't say, okay, I'm not spending any more money on clothes. And then all of a sudden you put on 30 pounds and you're not walking out of the house naked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Little things like that. Or I'm gonna change this, but there's going to be a result it's going to force me to tweak every step's going to need a tweak as you go along the way. And there's no perfect formula. I can't sit here and tell you this is what I did. Jimmy, you got to do the same thing I did, exactly how I did it. And that's the only way it's going to work. Everybody's rewriting their story. I'm not trying to write a fucking thing for you. Yeah. I'm just telling you what worked for me and how it worked.
You're sort of giving us
so
the
you go
roadmap almost,
Yeah, it's a blueprint. You go into these
Blueprint.
self-help books,
Yep.
a lot of the self-help books, first of all, they're going to pat you on the ass and tell you everything's okay.
Yeah.
And then they're going to tell you exactly what they did and the exact steps and, oh, you need to make more money. So here's buy my $49.99 plan on how I made more money. This is just, I'm a regular schmuck who started to figure some shit out. And I said, you know what? Let me tell everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's changed me in such a positive that I want to help. You know what I mean? And it's not rocket science.
No, it's especially after sitting here with you and just talking and shooting the shit. It seems like you've come up with this blueprint, that old roadmap that worked for you, but it's also one that where people can take from, read it, and say, hey, I'm gonna go on my own script now but I'm gonna do it X, Y, and Z. This is my plan on how to do it.
I mean, you may want 5 cars in your driveway. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing, but you can't not have food on your table because you're buying 5 cars. If you've got the money to do it, do what you love, but make sure it's what you love.
Yeah.
Make sure that the success that you're trying to attain is the one that you set out for and you want, not the success that anybody else.
So I got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll actually 3 more questions because I got one at the end that Jay Shetty always asks everybody, and I'm pretty. It's one of my favorite questions. So
not a problem.
So what's a misconception you feel people have when they hear your title, "Fuck the Script," that you'd like to correct?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Nope.
Perfect.
Because if my title turns you away from the book,
it's not meant for you.
You don't want to read it.
Yeah.
100%. The funny thing is I went to Catholic high school, and I got a phone call from the head of the school about 2-3 weeks ago. And we've been close for years, very close to my family. He moved down to Florida. Hi, Father John. I'm going to send you this so I said hello. And he's like, so tell me about the book. And we talked for about a half an hour. I checked in on the kids, checked in on my wife, my family.
Yeah.
And it was weird because he's a priest.
Yeah.
And he's like, you gotta send me a signed copy, and I want to read it. And if it's as good as I think it's going to be, and this man taught me English, and he thinks I wrote like a Stephen King novel here. I'm like, You saw my English grades. It's just me talking. He goes, okay, so I'll prepare myself for the language. And he says, yeah, no, I'll share it to my Facebook page, and I'll let everybody know about it. I was like, Father, you've seen the script, right? I mean, you've seen the title, right? And he's like, yeah, no, I want to support you. And I was like, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
I said, listen, the one of the lines I used during the advertising, and I'll still use to this day, is you come for the title and you stay for what's in it.
Yeah, no, I'm not about it. That's awesome. That you're gonna have the Father sharing it to Facebook and everywhere else. But again, it goes to show you the type of person that you are, the connections that you still have, and that people are still willing and able to, be there and be, support you. And that's awesome. That's, that's one of the.
We'll get a laugh when a priest from high school puts "fuck the script" on his Facebook page. Father John will make my day when that happens.
It's almost like you made it when that happens,
Yeah.
So finally, if you could go back and speak to your younger self before writing your script, before rewriting your script, what single piece of advice would you give?
The only opinion you need to worry about is your own. Stop fucking caring about everybody else, and not caring about them as in, I worry about you personally or can I help you? But I was more, and listen, this went well into my adulthood and still happens to me regularly. I just realize it now. I needed to stop thinking about what other people thought about what I was doing, why I was doing it, how I was doing it. And like I said, my son, 10%. Fucking kids, doesn't care about anything.
That's awesome.
I'm trying, and I'm pushing it to my daughter, because if I didn't have that fear of missing out and I didn't worry about what other people thought about me, I probably would have done things differently. So yeah, if my 20-year-old self can hear me and some like Back to the Future shit, stop fucking thinking about what everybody else thinks and just live your fucking life.
Don't worry. Any minute, Doc's gonna pull up in the
Well, from
bring
what
it
you're
back.
saying, with all those computers, you probably got a flux capacitor back there somewhere on the table.
So here's the funniest thing, right? We work on the railroad. So when we have the new guys come on, they'll be like, hey, I found an issue. And we'll all go and we'll be like, yeah, it definitely has to be the flux capacitor. And they'll be like, well, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, you got to figure it out. And then the machinist, they'll tell the guys, the engine's not getting enough gigawatts. Got to fix it somehow. And the people they'll call up the trouble desk where we work and be like, hey, the engine's not getting enough gigawatts. And they'll be like, don't you ever fucking call back here. Talk to your fucking partner and fix it. And the people like, I just got yelled at. I'm brand new. And we go, because there's no gigawatts and there's no flux capacitor. All right. Well,
Yeah, we do the same with the,
with
when
the
we demo saw out, we're cutting pipe and we tell the new guy to grab a bucket to catch the spark.
you see them stand. It's the best. So what is the last question? What's the best advice you have heard or received in life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I say it on every podcast when I'm talking about the book, and I got it really late in life, but it's got to be that Jordan Peterson quote.
Yeah.
The only person that you ever need to compare yourself to is the person that laid its head on your pillow the night before.
No, that's awesome.
It's just, it really, that one hit home more than any quote I've ever heard in my life. And unfortunately, I heard it a couple years ago.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one that's am falling in love with because it's so friggin' true. It's so friggin' true. If you can be a better man today than the person that was yesterday, it's a win,
And it's moving one needle, one millionth of a percent, whatever it is.
Whatever it
you
is.
got $25,000 in debt, and you wake up tomorrow and it's 24,900.
Yeah.
You move the fucking needle.
Exactly.
You step on the scale and you were 250 the night before and you're 249.9. You move the fucking needle.
Exactly.
That was really the one that got me. And then to be honest, my favorite quote, it comes from this book, Fuck the Script, is that motivation is bullshit.
Motivation is bullshit. Yeah.
Motivation is bullshit. You can't wait for motivation. Motivation is a very fleeting thing. You have to have discipline.
Yeah. Discipline. Yeah. One of the quotes that I have is that, it rings true all the time is when my ex-wife used to say, I'd be out walking and I was 350 pounds plus maybe. And she used to always say to me, you got to look at it this way. You're lapping everybody on the couch. And it was something small that puts it into perspective of, hey, at least you're out walking, lapping everybody on the couch. And it was so true.
It's the little improvements and the little things that you do that while you don't see it while you're doing it, it comes to a result at the end, whatever that end may be.
So Rob, but before we end it, I'm going to give a little closing here, but where can people find the book?
Fuck the Script's available on Amazon.
Perfect.
I also have a Stan store. It's stan.store/FTS25. I can send you everything for the podcast notes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And I guess I'm not going to hustle in silence on this one, but I'm looking to start the Fuck the Standard podcast in January.
That's awesome.
It's going to be a structure from Fuck the Script. There might be another book in the works running down a different same path, different topic.
Yeah.
And it's going to be me to start, and I'm going to bring on, I'm going to do my canvassing for guests after the first few episodes.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be a look into not only what's going on in Fuck the Script and rewriting your story, but I want to get people on that actually want to sit there and talk and own their shit.
Yeah. No,
do it live. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the greatest things is doing it live too, because there's no editing, there's none of that. It's straight from the mouth, And
it's also very difficult to lie to yourself when somebody's going to call bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that seems like that seems unbelievable.
I appreciate it.
It's great to hear that you have such a great family dynamic at home, mom and dad, your two kids and your wife. I would just like to say, to me, it seems like you're very blessed with a lot of love in that house that you're in, and it seems very, very unique, the family, and it's just touching. It's very heartfelt. It fills my heart to know that there's a house of love out there, full of love.
Yeah,
we can keep going.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. The best thing is that I had I think 8 more questions that I sort of whittled down to. You're going to be starting your own podcast.
Yeah, so I would hope to have a couple guest episodes in before January.
Stay tuned for that, everybody. Almost maybe a second book, but before that, everybody go out. You can buy the book. Fuck the Script. You can find it on Amazon. So, Rob, what you have shared today is more than a message. It's a wake-up call. Fuck the Script isn't just a book. It's a battle cry for anyone who have ever felt trapped in a story they didn't write. Because here's the truth. Most of us spend our lives performing roles we never auditioned for. We inherit expectations. We chase approval, and we call it purpose. But the moment we decide to stop reading someone else's lines, that's the moment we come alive. Your story reminds us that change doesn't start with the plan. It starts with the decision. The decision to look in the mirror and say, this is not how my story ends. And from that moment on, everything shifts. The fear doesn't disappear. You just stop letting it drive. The past doesn't define you. It teaches you. In the Script, you finally realize it's been yours to rewrite all along. So to everyone listening, if there's a voice in your head saying, there's more to me than this, listen to it. That's not doubt. That's destiny calling. Rob, thank you for reminding us that freedom isn't found in following the script. It's found in setting it on fire and writing something extraordinary in its place. Thanks, Rob.
Pleasure, Jim. Thank you.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Uncle Jimmy out.